in Europe, speaking of some transfer news now, Inter Milan goalkeeper Andre Onana is undergoing a medical with Manchester United ahead of completing a £47.2 million move to Old Trafford. Once completed and contracts are formally signed, he will join up with the rest of the squad in the US for United's pre-season tour. The squad fly out later on Wednesday after their pre-season game against Lyon at Murrayfield in Edinburgh, and it is likely Onana will travel later this week. A breakthrough on discussions between United and Inter came on Tuesday following days of talks between the clubs, with the deal including an initial fee of €51 million, that is £43.8 million, plus £5.3 million in potential add-ons. Onana has made clear his intention to move to Old Trafford and reunite with his former Ajax manager Erik ten Hag, who is driving the move for the 27-year-old. At the beginning of the summer, we heard that Chelsea were linked with Onana. I have questions about why suddenly they seem to back off. The fee seems affordable, even if they weren't willing to pay as much as £50 million in one go. They could have definitely secured the move that they wanted for Onana. Instead, they let Edouard Mendy go. And now they are a top goalkeeper light, and they've missed out on this player. Talk to me about how big of an improvement Onana could be on De Gea between the sticks for United.
I think it's common knowledge that the very first reason why Onana is prevailing in this conversation, or is becoming the heir apparent to David De Gea, is the very fact that the quality Erik ten Hag is looking for to establish his playing style rests in the foot of Onana. I mean, first of all, they played together before, so he knows what he's getting. Second of all, he wants to play from the back, and the goalkeeper he once had made a blunder of that. Now, Onana is coming in, and I know, yes, there are still skepticism that if you are bringing in a number 10 with gloves, does that resolve the defensive situation? Because, yes, you are going into next season still having the likes of Varane and Martinez as your first choice, both of whom have fitness issues. You have Maguire as your second, third choice, who is still having fitness issues in terms of game form, and is not even sure of his future in the club. You are bringing back Johnny Evans. You still have Eric Bailly, and you have John Stones. Look at the defensive unit that Andre Onana is coming to work with. You have Dalot and Wan-Bissaka. Now, you can say, okay, Wan-Bissaka is the best slider in the world. What if he plays against the likes of Modric, who is fast in Chelsea, or Trossard, who is fast in Arsenal, and these players know that, okay, Shebi, you know how to slide, we do something else that take you off the way, and we are left with Onana, and we are left with Martinez, or we are left with Maguire. There are a lot of questions that need to be answered with this impending coming of Onana. And not take nothing away from Andre Onana. He is someone who, in the 27 years of his existence on earth, was tutored in Spain by Barcelona Academy, was brought into the world by Ajax into the senior level in 2015, spent 7 years with them, won some trophies. Now, he went to Inter Milan and had one of the best seasons of his life, getting to the Champions League final, being the very best goalkeeper in both competitions, talking about the Serie A and the Champions League, because I think he got the best clean sheet in the Champions League, one of the least considered goals in Serie A as well, talking about Inter Milan. So he had a very good season in Inter Milan. But will he be able to connect with the defensive setup that Manchester United have now? Vis-a-vis what happened for the transfer window. So those are the plenty questions. I don't think he's a better shot stopper than De Gea.
You know, Pep Guardiola had his say about the player, and he said that when Man City were playing against Inter Milan during the Champions League finals, it was like having a midfielder in post. That's how good he is at distributing the ball. He's one of the very best in the world. And Manchester United would be stealing a march on Chelsea, perhaps stealing a march on most clubs who were interested in bringing Onana to their squad. But he is a very good passer of the ball. And he is also very capable. His reflexes are very good. He's good in commanding his space in the box. And he does well from recovering the ball in dangerous situations such as set pieces and crosses. But Rio Ferdinand, a Manchester United great, has said that he is just as prone as De Gea when it comes to making mistakes and losing concentration. Is Manchester United having an upgrade on De Gea in any way at all? If this goalkeeper is just as likely to make the kinds of errors that De Gea was known for, even though De Gea was considered by many worldwide as a top-notch, world-class goalkeeper with plenty of highlight reels of him saving Manchester United and even being the standout performer for the club, even through tough times.
So basically, first of all, you ask yourself, who were the strikers that Andrea Onana faced in the Italian Serie A last season, so that we can gauge how good he was to get those numbers. First of all, he faced our very own Victor Osimhen, who ended the league as the highest goal scorer with 26 goals. He faced the likes of Lautaro Martinez. No, he didn't face Lautaro Martinez because Lautaro Martinez was his club. He faced the likes of Boulaye Dia, Rafael Leao of AC Milan. He faced the likes of Ademola Lookman, who is also our guy from Atalanta. Now, he did well with these guys. He went to the Champions League. Man City could, when everybody was expecting Inter Milan to be blown away by 4, 5, 6 goals, when Man City were having the best time of their life, Inter Milan only conceded once against City. In fact, for most part of the game, if Lukaku didn't sniff what is snuffed before coming onto the field, Inter should have won that game, right? Now, I think they are bringing in a goalkeeper who has the winning mentality, who has been amongst winners. At Ajax, he won the league 3 times. He won the Dutch league twice. He was instrumental in the 7 years of his existence at Ajax. So yes, they are bringing in somebody who can be fit for them and who has the winning mentality. The question now is he improving the shot stopping? Because he's going to be facing the likes of Haaland. He's going to be facing the likes of Kane, if Kane remains in the English Premier League. Nkunku has come for Chelsea. These are the people he's going to be facing. He's going to be facing fast players. Players like Salah, who may give him shots from outside, right? These are the things he needs to consider. I'm not doubting if he's an error-prone goalkeeper or not. I think he may not make a lot of errors. But we really get used to the change of system.
You know, this Onana story actually reminds me of a thing I have been considering during this window. The fact is, oftentimes, you know, you have about 3 months of activity for the window. Firstly, there's the first month, which clubs in England can only buy players from outside England. And then after this, in the second month, you know, the window opens in England in earnest, and clubs in England can trade players with each other. But oftentimes you see, and this point comes to mind based on what I've noticed with Chelsea going so far this during this break, this summer transfer window, and even to an extent with Manchester United. While Arsenal are speeding ahead and buying up £105 million players and completing deals in midfield and in defense, almost everybody else at the top end of the table is stagnant. Man City are yet to buy anyone. Meanwhile, they've already lost Gundogan. Reports are saying they're about to lose Mahrez. PSG are sniffing around Bernardo Silva. And the only player that has been, linked with Man City has been Josko Gvardiol. Chelsea also have been linked with a myriad of players, and they have bought some, but only 2 players have been brought in specifically for the first team, and one of them, the deal was already agreed to the previous summer window. It begs the question, how is it and why is it that for most of the summer window, we see a lot of sluggishness in how teams move. But come the last month, come the last couple of weeks, come the last day, deadline day of the transfer window, we see deals get moved up, agreed in a flash. Even medicals that used to get booked a day or 2 or even a week outside of the agreement, the verbal agreement, this time, the last few hours of the transfer window, these things get sorted so quickly. Is it that clubs just generally are biding their time, hoping that the best deals and the desperate moments, final moments of the transfer window will weigh on the clubs they're dealing with to buy, pick up players? Because at the same time, there's a double, there's an issue, a risk with that, because the club that has the player that is willing to sell might suddenly not be willing to sell, given that the final few days, the final few hours, it might not be so easy to pick up a replacement.
So first of all, we can't say the clubs are sluggish in a transfer window that is just 3 weeks old and is meant to run for 2 months. I mean, you said it yourself, they probably would start rushing at the latter hours, but the latter hours doesn't come till the latter part of August. We are still in July. Even the Women's World Cup is yet to start. The teams are yet to play preseason. No, I know we usually like to hype this and start with the team, the whole preseason tour, the coach knows where. But over the years, we've seen players come at crunch time and still do magic. We've also seen the reverse of the case. I mean, Aubameyang is one example for Chelsea. But Mikel Obi was an example for Chelsea about 20 something years ago. In fact, his whole clutch was clutch because he did clutch for 2 clubs. That's a record. Like clutch for Manchester United, even did the jersey, and all of a sudden he's starting with the jersey of Chelsea when the season started. So a lot of things happen. And another example, which I think is the most valid example, is negotiations go on with high-level technical directors. These are not people that you can say yes to or no to immediately. Remember when Potter was being appointed as Chelsea's coach, we later found out that Gboyega had approached Potter in the previous season as early as April. So while Gboyega was planning to become the owner of Chelsea, he was already looking for Tuchel's replacement in case it happens. That was as far as. So when Tuchel was sacked and in 2 days Potter was reinstated, everybody said from here, sharp. It was not sharp. It had started happening since April. So when the season ended, clubs have started speaking. Did you know that before Haaland came to Man City already had discussions with Dortmund before the season ended? That was why they were able to beat the release clause date. They already knew what was up. They already had the negotiations and they agreed that okay, we will wait. When so time reach, this is the right time to move and we'll get our player. They were not scared that when it's time, the club will change their mind. Elite clubs don't do that. They scarcely do that. So why fans are agitated, I really don't know. Some fans.
But let me paint one particular set of fans that might be very agitated at this point. Chelsea Football Club. Now, it's one thing to consider Chelsea as an isolated club ownership, but it is just one club in a multi-club ownership system that exists now. The owners have to plan for outgoing players and incoming players. And they've been on the topic of buying Caicedo for months now because they tried to buy him in January. It didn't work out. At the very beginning of this whole window, they've been negotiating verbally without making formal bids, and they still are where they are at right now. Meanwhile, the the manager that was brought in made it clear he wants an elite experienced striker. So even though they've brought Jackson in, he would prefer to have someone more qualified, which is where talks about Vlahovic and Osimhen come in. Then there's the goalkeeping position, and of course there's still midfield. And now with Fofana injured, there's talk about defense. And on top of that, there's still maybe one or two signings they would like to make in the winger positions. And then on top of that, there's the fact that the owners have Strasbourg, another club in the multi-club ownership that they have to worry about. Outgoings, incomings, and ways to improve the current squad. It seems like this Todd Bowley, Clear Lake Capital ownership might very well be stretched too thin, and perhaps they are playing too clever with negotiation tactics. Given that when it comes to the Caicedo deal, it seems to be holding up every other future deals they would be interested in making. And they already know who they're dealing with. This is Brighton. Brighton are not going to budge by much, if at all, from the original position of pricing that they've made very clear. They want about £100 million for Caicedo, and they're very likely only going to let him go for exactly that amount. So why the hold up, given that it's going to have future ramifications and possibly delay and make possibly some deals fall through come the final hours of the window?
So, first of all, Chelsea fans listening to this right now will feel like a congregation listening to a prophet of doom, because the way you were mentioning on top of that, on top of that, on top of that, it was looking like, okay, let's not just go into the next league. Let's just resume at the championship and leave the National League for them. But the reality is, just like I mentioned for the Nigerian Premier League, I think clearly Capital, Todd Bowley, Mike Egbali, the rest of them behind the scenes, they've gotten to that point where the first season was a learning curve for them. They need to learn from that. And now the first lesson they've learned is not by how much, it's about how well. It's not by who first score police, now who first get keys. So they've spent 600 million in 2 windows. You can't reasonably, technically expect them to start spending again when the transfer window is still young. I mean, it's like doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. Secondly, this is the same side that when the likes of Rudiger, Christensen, Alonso, there was a tsunami of outgoing players. We talked about how are they going to cope. Then they brought a tsunami of incoming players. Cucurella came in, Fofana came in, Koulibaly came in, Badiashile came in, all defenders. Some of them were not even ready to start in the Champions League squad. They've learned from that as well. That the first thing is to ship out players. They've started doing that. The Koulibaly has left, Mendy has left, Kante, Kovacic, the rest of them. But we would not rush to replace them. Instead, we will now sit down and bring out the team sheet and start analyzing exactly what we need. You already analyzed a little. They need a goalkeeper. They already signed one in the previous season, coming from the MLS, Gabriel Slolina. I'm not sure if that guy will start ahead of Kepa. Kepa will still be the number one goalkeeper going to next season. You talk about the defense, Fofana with his injury worries. They have Badiashile, they have Chaluba, and they have Thiago Silva. Whichever way Pochettino wants to use them, those are the men on ground at the moment. Cucurella and Luis James. Probably Pochettino will stick with the back four, so we will not be seeing total dependence on centre backs. We'll be seeing Cucurella and Luis James as part of the defensive structure. You talk about midfield. Going on this tour, Chelsea only went with 6 midfielders. They only have Enzo Fernandez as the only central midfielder who is a holding midfielder. Kante has left, Jorginho has left, Kovacic has left, Loftus-Cheek has left. They don't have anybody who is holding the midfield for them, aside from Enzo Fernandez. Zachariah, who I was falling in love with Onichu, has been sent packing. Yao Felix has gone back to Atletico Madrid. Who do they have? Messi Mount has left. So they won't start rushing to fill these gaps. They will start thinking of who can we bring in to solve immediate issue. Is it one player? Is it two players? I mean, they still have the striking position to think about. So I don't expect Chelsea to solve all these problems in the second week of July. It's practically impossible. So they will have to sit down, look at Pochettino will speak with his sporting directors, he will speak with his technical directors, he will speak with his scouting managers, and they will talk for a while. It's not like they're not doing anything in the market. They are discussing. They want Caicedo. Brighton are puffing their chest. They've submitted like 2 official bids. Brighton are saying, no, we want 70 something, we want 80 something. And Chelsea are saying, we have integrity, we won't go beyond this. So they are busy in the market, but it won't happen suddenly, right?
No, my thing is, they could move on to other targets, knowing that they still intend to come round to those targets down the line, as opposed to waiting for the possibility that those targets get picked up before they round up the discussions over Caicedo. I understand the idea of Caicedo's deal going on as long as it has. It could very well go to the very last day of the window, which is not best for Pochettino's attempts to prepare the squad. However, if it does go that far, if it does go that long, not securing other targets early enough, it would just be like they wasted the whole summer. And they are not in the second week of July. This is the third week, 19th of July. That is very close. And they're not going to... Then they have
July.
Yes, it's July. But as much as... See, one of the reasons why Chelsea felt the need to go ahead and pay as much as they did for... I suppose the same thing could apply to Arsenal. Why they paid so much for Declan Rice? Why Chelsea paid so much for Enzo Fernandez? Because come summer, they knew that if that midfielder wasn't taken off the market, then they would have to compete with the likes of Liverpool, likes of Man City, likes of possibly PSG for this player, given that everybody was either after the likes of Jude Bellingham or other midfielders, and you know, if those teams that failed to secure Jude Bellingham would then turn to Enzo Fernandez, I'm just saying, move on, get other targets secured now before you feel like at the end of the day you've wasted all the time you could have spent on other deals. Gbenga, I don't know if you're still there.
Let's not forget
quickly, we have very little time. Just very quickly.
Yes. In as much as we want them to act fast, let's not forget that the new system is coming in with a new policy. Catch them young and keep them for long. Catch them young and keep them for long. Now, at the moment, Chelsea already have Kanu Chukwuemeka. They already have Madueke. They already have Modric. These guys are midfielders. They've brought in Okonkwo to join that array. They have Jackson. Broha will come back and join them, regardless of what happens with Lukaku in the transfer window. They still have players that they want to instill confidence in going into the next season. So even if players are coming in, it is to come and complement the growth and development that Gboyega is planning.
All right.
Let's allow him to cook.
All right, Gbenga, thank you so much, but we've run out of time. I'm just going to say that it was this level of dilly-dallying that allowed for the club to miss out on Ugarte to PSG. If they could go back and revisit that deal, knowing that the price would have been at around £60 million, they might have secured that once and for all instead of letting it drag on and then pulling out and thinking they could go in for Caicedo easy. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Gbenga.